Hello ladies and gentlemen, Riley from Wiki Cookie here again from our video, and this is going to be my review of Rogue One, a Star Wars story. I'm sure everyone knows what the plot to Rogue One is, but in case you aren't aware of what it's all about, I'll try to say as much as I can without spoiling it. Essentially, in Star Wars Episode 4, or the very first one, A New Hope, the rebels had to destroy the Death Star. This movie is about how the Death Star plans, which led to the destruction of the Death Star, were captured, so it's about Rogue One and the rebels finding the plans to be able to destroy it. That's all I'm going to say. The characters in Rogue One are pretty unique. I thought they were interesting, but I felt like they could have used some more development or some backgrounds. Of course, there is Jyn Erso, who is the main protagonist. She's a strong, independent... Well, I can't really spoil too much of her background, but let's just say she has some involvement, so to speak, with the Empire. Pretty cool character. Emanuel, I think was his last name. His character interested me the most whenever the movie was coming out, but again, I wish I knew a little more about him. He was pretty cool. I'm not too sure if he was a Jedi or anything like that, but he was interested in the Force, and his companion, Baze Malbus, was pretty cool. He was quiet, but pretty tough. You had, I think his name was Bodhi Rook. He was a pilot who was pretty decent character. Pretty cool, I guess, strong. You had Forrest Whitaker's character, Saw Gerrera, I think his name was. Sorry if I'm screwing these up. His character was pretty cool, even though he only had a little bit of screen time, but oh well. Captain Cassian Andor. His character was, he was more or less the second in command, I guess you could say, after Jyn, but he was pretty cool. Trying to remember a bit about him. All I can say is he was like the second in command. He was tough, kind of taught Jyn how to be a rebel. And of course, before all of the cameos and original characters, there's K2SO, who was a nice blend of C-3PO and R2-D2 or BB-8. I say that because he was smart like C-3PO, but at the same time he was a bit of a badass like R2-D2 and BB-8. I know C-3PO was badass as well, but you know what I mean. And of course there was the new villain, Orson Krennic, who is basically the leader of the Death Troopers, who were kind of a letdown in my opinion. Even though they were kind of cool, I wish they were a little more... I wish they had more screen time and action. And he was the real mastermind kind of the Death Star. He was... I don't know, he was a bit of a mixed bag for me at the beginning. And of course you have Darth Vader, which I'm not going to spoil too much of, but he was badass, especially at the end. And of course, there's Mon Mothma, and there's some cameos from various characters, but I'm not going to spoil those. So, both the effects and the soundtrack in Rogue One, a Star Wars story, are both amazing. I was expecting the effects to be a little more CGI than they were in The Force Awakens, but they were pretty awesome. The weapons, armor, everything like that looked realistic. Vehicles, of course, everything was old school. I was looking forward to the old Stormtrooper armor. Of course, there's new Stormtrooper types, like the Death Troopers, who I personally thought were kind of a letdown in this movie. They were only a little cool. And of course, in addition to awesome infantry battles, there was actually a space battle that was pretty damn awesome. It went on for quite a long amount of time, and it was awesome. And the soundtrack was, well, it's a different guy. It's not John Williams, so of course it was a little different. It sounded like new stuff mixed in with a little bit of the original trilogy and the prequels, so that was pretty neat. The movie, just like The Force Awakens, includes lots of Easter eggs and throwbacks that many old school fans will enjoy, while giving you an experience that will be much reminiscent of the prequels and the new movies. So overall, this movie is different, but it's also classical. Rogue One is a pretty different Star Wars movie. It focuses more on militaristic aspects and infantry-based warfare more than Jedis and all that stuff, but that was more or less to be expected, and even more so in the next coming anthology movies. So don't go into this expecting a traditional Star Wars movie. Go into this expecting more military stuff, army stuff, and there is, like I mentioned, a space battle. So go for more of a different experience this time. So in conclusion, Rogue One, A Star Wars Story is different, but still a pretty damn good Star Wars movie. It wasn't a disappointment, and I cannot wait to see the rest of the anthology movies, which so far they have announced the Obi-Wan Kenobi movie and the Han Solo movie. I'm very excited to see the rest of the anthology movies. This one was great. different, but still awesome. This has been Riley Flynn Wookie Cookie. I'll catch you guys next time.